So we want to talk about finding your style. And first off, everyone knows I love backlighting. So that's kind of, is this good lighting?
Yeah,
right now?
it's top lighting.
Top lighting, yeah. It's a bit backlit, kind of, sort of. Anyways, Mikey, finding your style. What I find interesting is people sometimes are afraid to choose one style or kind of explore one style. But when you look at all the best filmmakers in Hollywood, almost, if you never had seen the film before and you didn't see any titles or name cards, you could guess who made a film. You know what Tarantino looks like.
Right.
You know what, especially someone like Wes Anderson, you know, one of the most famous Hollywood directors. He has a very specific style.
Yeah.
You know, 235 center frame, very poppy pastel colors. It's you know, a Wes Anderson frame, to the point that people say shoot it in a Wes Anderson style.
Right.
So we're talking about styles aren't bad. Choosing one lane isn't bad. So the 3 points we're going to talk about for finding your style are find inspiration, create boundaries, and start shooting. And we'll talk about what those actually mean. But Mikey, you just worked on a film that had a very distinct style. How did you choose that for His Name is Ray?
It was kind of an obvious choice that I had to shoot it wide because, you know, there wasn't a lot to work with. Like I was outside, there was a man panhandling, you know, asking for money, and then, you know, shooting heroin. That was kind of the whole thing. And so I needed to create an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right. And the atmosphere was cars whisking by, him walking down long roads that led to the lake. And like, you know, when you just looked at my eyes, you just saw that I needed to shoot this thing wide.
Well, his home is the world.
Yeah.
So it had to be a wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was kind of like a Terrence Malick type of, you know, atmospheric. You had that whole, you know, Cheevel type of feel to it. So that's what I was going for on that, because it just made sense.
And it definitely felt like that.
Yeah.
It's like gambling almost, like playing the slot machine, right? It's like you don't know where you're going to get every car you go by, right?
So talking about that, you just mentioned Cheevo and you mentioned Terrence Malick. That is a big way to find your style, is start finding what inspires you. What exhilarates you as an artist? So for you, what I love about Michael, I'll come into the office and I don't know how he does this, but Michael will be working on a task, like 2 or 3 things, and he'll have a movie playing in the background, because that's where you get your inspiration. That's where you get your energy. You feed off that.
Yeah, and I'm not even, you know, when I'm doing that, or even a lot of times, I think when it comes to finding a style from great filmmakers that have come before, is like, I'm not concerned about the story. I'm looking at the filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, that's what inspires me, is just kind of, a perfect example would be like, you know,
You watch The Big Short a lot.
well, and that was for reference to this one doc we're working on right
Yeah.
now, right? Where there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of
Sales.
it's a lot of sales, it's a lot of kind of computer analytics. So, you know, we're referring to The Big Short because I think that's one of that and kind of The Social Network are two of the best films that take these kind of cyber worlds and you know, make it humanized and interactive and engaging and kinetic, and it brings that energy that otherwise, you know, you would just basically be in cubicles.
Totally.
Right. So again,
How do you make that interesting?
right. Well, and the thing that you're fortunate enough is that someone's probably done what you're trying to do. So go find what they did well and try to replicate that. And you'll obviously bring your own voice to it and your own truth, but use that as your starting point.
Yeah. What's great with Michael, having a reference, having an inspiration point, is that film he's talking about, that doc, which we can't talk about. We're in the middle of trying to get funding from a broadcaster. But since I'm DPing it, Michael referenced The Big Short, and I immediately could go watch that.
Right.
I could get inspired. And then I had boundaries to work with him, which brings us to our second point. Creating boundaries for your film. And this is kind of where you actually set some guidelines or rules, and it feels restrictive. And I find a lot of new young filmmakers feel like you're stifling creativity, but it actually gives you a playing field, as you've called it, Michael. So for Ray, you had a couple rules that you approached your film. You created boundaries for yourself. One was handheld.
Yeah, one was like the number. I wasn't going to bring any other gear that didn't fit in my fanny pack. So it was like a couple batteries, a couple cards. I didn't want to be overwhelmed by tripods or lights or gimbals. So it was the camera and the fanny pack, and that was kind of what I said. When I run out of battery or run out of cards, whatever comes first, you know, I call the Uber and go home.
There you go. And so this is the rules too. For Rescate, I said I'm going to be all handheld, and I said I actually made an intentional decision that the worst time of the year for these paramedics is during monsoon season. Right. So I went there during monsoon season, And I try to not shoot during the middle of the day as much as possible,
Right.
because the hell that these paramedics go through is in the evening. It's at night. So I wanted the film to reflect that tone. It's why I color corrected it. So again, these sound like boundaries and they feel like you're squeezing the film, but what you're actually doing is making a really sharp film, a really streamlined theme. And it comes through in the final project.
Absolutely. Because you know, obviously, like with that's a perfect example of then, you know, what happens so many times with documentary filmmakers is like, you know, they shoot everything. You know, and there's a little bit of truth to that, but really, you know, good luck editing that.
We were just watching a film before this, and it just becomes bland.
You just kind of feel like you guys just kind of shot everything, and just there was no choices being made. So it's like, I love that example of like, I'm shooting this, you know, and there's a lot of like Revenant was a perfect example of, you know, their use of light. Like, you know, they had like a couple hour filming block.
Yeah, every day.
Right?
Yeah,
And it's like, do something interesting like that.
Yeah. You could even say, I'm going to shoot this entire film on an iPhone or a GoPro.
Absolutely.
Or I don't know, with your hat. Somehow shoot it with your hat.
Yeah. I mean, don't do, I would say, don't do it for the, like, I'm going to shoot the whole thing with my backup camera.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for the sake of being gimmicky. You're doing it because it's the right choice to make for this film.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's what it has to come down to. It has to come down to, like, what's the theme? It goes back to the simple, you know, the ideas you're being taught here. Like, what's the characters? What's the story? What are the themes? And then how do I come up with a process and filming style, create these boundaries that is right for this?
Totally.
You know?
The last point, and we've kind of already covered this, but is you got to get shooting. One of my first YouTube tip videos I said was you got to get a camera and you got to shoot.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you got to shoot to actually find out what you like, and you have to choose your style, shoot what you like, because if you don't like something, you won't be passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship. Your film's a relationship. If you don't like the person you're in a relationship with, you're not going to go the extent, you're not going to go buy them flowers. You're not going to do all the things that help keep a relationship healthy and thriving. So I see my films as that. So what I mean by that is go out and get shooting, but shoot things you like. Shoot topics you like. So Michael, he's a runner, and also,
shoot people you like.
Yeah.
You know, because I think,
true.
Sorry, because I think generally I'm drawn to kind of men in the middle of their life, you know, that are searching for their purpose and mission in life.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of always been my niche. I'm always finding myself following these individuals that I'm, you know, they're probably 10 years ahead of me or something, or I see similarities in them and I find that I just want to follow them to kind of listen to them. So, you know, I think that's, you know, when it comes to just shooting, it's like find a topic or someone that you just, you know, you can't really get enough of. Like you just want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, a big example, I'll just say one example of that was in Sean Baker's The Florida Project. And I remember if you've seen it, you know, there's not a conventional plot to it. It's just these characters that you just can't turn away from. And that made me really inspired to make His Name is Ray, because I was just like, I don't necessarily even need the most dramatic plot. You know, I don't need this epic journey, but I need someone that I'm just engrossed by how they're living and how they think. And I want more. Like, tell me more.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm feeling that, I know the audience is going to be just as captivated.
Totally. So just to summarize that, find inspiration. For me, it's music. I listen to music and I begin to see the film ahead of time. Michael watches films. That's where he gets his inspiration. Number 2 is find the boundaries. Determine some rules for the films you're going to make and then play within that. And then the last thing is shoot something you like. Get out shooting, find characters or themes that you like, because you're going to be more passionate about it.
You know, you're going to intuitively know a little bit like where it's headed, you know, because you've been there, right? When you mature, I think you'll be able to go and venture into some new categories, but stick to kind of what you know. That would be a good place to start.
Awesome.